finding that thing that you want to do forever, so you have to figure out a way to make it sustainable, versus doing the thing that you want to be done with eventually, so you're just counting down the days until it's done. Those are just two different lives.
One of the biggest objections people have is about turning their obsession into their career, I think, is, well, I don't want it to feel like work. Honestly, I don't care. Wouldn't it be better to have something that you were obsessed with kind of feel like work than have a career you don't love?
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1338. You get more of what you focus on. Today, for episode number 1339, what's your obsession? So as I mentioned recently, I think, Taryn and I are going to Belgium. And we are actually going to go to London while we're in Belgium, because it's like an hour and a half train ride away. Didn't know that. Pretty cool. So we're going to take advantage of that. This will be my second time ever going to England. I went to England when I was a younger gentleman. And I'll never forget. This was
a wee lad.
A wee lad. Yes, I was a wee lad. And I remember packing up my stuff. And I was doing all the research, like, how much does my bag have to weigh? And I remember, I don't know, somebody said something. They're like, well, you don't have to really worry about it because you're just going to do your carry-on. And I was like, no, I'm going to check my bag. And they're like, why are you going to check your bag? You can just bring a carry-on, you put it in the overhead bin. Like, thank you. I understand that part. Like, I've been on a plane before. I'm going to check my bag because I'm bringing my podcast equipment. So I'm going to podcast when I'm in England. I want to podcast while I'm there. I'm going to be away for a week or something. I want to podcast while I'm in England. I think that would be really cool. So I proceed to pack, I don't know, 45 pounds worth of podcast equipment into this old crappy bag. And I remember those little locks you can put on your luggage? I lock it up. Boom. Cool. Awesome. Send it off.
Lock it up.
Lock it up. So we get there. Shout out to Cope Daddy. I don't know if Cope Daddy's listening, but if you are, I went with Cope Daddy. And we get there and we proceed to go from the airport to like downtown London. We didn't rent a car or anything. And it was like, I don't know, probably like a 20-minute walk. So I'm walking through the streets of London with my giant bag, 2 bags, just like knocking into people. You know, I'm on the train. It's a whole thing. It's a giant pain in the butt. Eventually we get to the flat, as it's called in London, and boom, cool. Unfortunately, we spent some of our time in London, and then we went to like some small beach town somewhere else in England, which was like an hour and a half train ride. So I've told this story before, but it's just funny. So we go, so I have to pack everything up. So I have a backpack that has my laptop and everything. And then I have a bag that has all my clothes. And then I have a bag that is just purely podcast equipment. So we go to get on a train and I get a seat. I'm like, nice. I got an open seat next to me. This is great. I'll put my bag over there. One of my bags. And the train's pretty full. And there's this older gentleman walking down the aisle looking for a seat. And I'm like, oh, no. You'll find one. You'll find one. You're good. You'll find one. You'll find a seat. And he's looking around. And then he looks at me. And then I was like, you want to sit? He's like, and he was an older guy. So it's like, of course, I want you to. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to sit, please. So I proceeded to take my 45-pound suitcase and put it on my lap. And I literally went through the entire hour and a half train ride with my suitcase on my lap, unable to move, just sitting there, just buckled into the corner. The point of all this is I never would have done that if podcasting wasn't an obsession. I am obsessed with podcasting. I love it. I love being in this studio, in this frame with these headphones on. I can hear myself in my microphone. I love doing the intro. I've done it 1,300 and whatever times. I love podcasting. That's just a really good example of what obsession looks like. I didn't want to not bring my stuff. It was more important for me to go through the pain in the butt than not have that opportunity. I mean, I recorded a podcast episode in London, England, or not London, in England. I may never have that opportunity again, right? Will I bring my stuff with me when Tara and I go? Probably not, because that's going to be a whole nother thing, but that's obsession. And I think I said this in the outro of the previous episode. It's not only a cologne or a perfume. It is something that you can use to your advantage if you have a positive relationship with it and if you understand how to use it to your advantage.
Kev, the plot thickens.
Tell me.
So had Kevin not been obsessed with podcasting, him and I may have never worked together.
That's fair.
I remember I was told that he brought his podcast equipment to London. And this is back when I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives, and he had a podcast called The Hyper Conscious Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And this is long before the Hyper Conscious Podcast meets Conversations Change Lives podcast when we teamed up. Not that long before, probably like a month or two, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, actually probably a couple months.
Yeah, I think
because
it was a while.
we had 17 or 18. I think we teamed up for 19, episode 19 of the Hyper Conscious Podcast.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But
this
anyways,
was episode 7, I think, or no. Episode
6.
Was it
I think
6?
it
No,
was
6 was with Dan Garino. Shout out to Dan Garino.
Oh,
I think it might have been 8 or 9. I don't remember. I can look. I'll look.
okay, please. But I remember hearing that he brought his podcast equipment to England, and I remember consciously saying, that is commitment. That is commitment. And whenever you're, maybe this is a me thing, I think it probably is, and this probably will connect to my obsession, but I'm always looking for, I remember I asked one of our mentors early on, I said, what do you look for in people that you want to hire? What character traits do you look for? And he's like, I don't really, look for character traits and stuff like that. We were on a public medium, so I don't think he wanted to like segregate any of his listeners, so I get it. But I remember thinking to myself, like, that's not true. Like, of course you have to look for certain character traits, like passion and commitment and grit and sweat equity and self-discipline and, strategic thinking and intelligence and all these different things that we, human values that make you competent. But anyways, I remember seeing Kevin, and I remember thinking, like, that dude is committed. He brought a 50-pound bag, 45-pound bag of podcast equipment so that he didn't miss an episode. And I remember consciously thinking, Kev, like, that is commitment. That's amazing. Had I not had that perception of Kevin, that idea of Kevin, that perspective of Kevin, would I have teamed up with him? That was a distinct moment for me of like, he's going to win. I remember saying that to myself, genuinely. Now that's someone who's going to win. Most people can't be bothered. They're like, oh, I really want to, I'll give you one more example of an obsession. I have a client right now, shout out to Bianca, she's crushing her cut. We've got a fitness tracker, and we've got her tracking her weight and her calories, all this kind of stuff. And we do check-ins. She sends me progress pics, all this different stuff. And so every single call we get on, we go through the numbers, blah, blah, blah. And we check in on her metabolic set point, which is just how many calories do you need to eat in order to hit your goal by this date. Kevin, you and I did some of that yesterday. Mm-hmm. And after one of the calls, I text her and I say, how many days left in your cut? And I said, and I'm going to stop you right there. Don't look it up. If you don't know the number off the top of your head, you're jeffing. And she said, and she sent me a picture of her whiteboard that said 81 days left. And I was like, that is commitment. She's going to win. She's going to hit her goal. How many days are left in the quarter? 46. How many days, you can tell there's signs of people that are going to be successful. So anyways, when I saw Kevin's obsession in podcasting, and I saw him heard about him taking his podcast equipment to London so that he wouldn't miss an episode, I went, he's going to win. And if I didn't do that, if I didn't see that, and more importantly, if you didn't lean into your obsession, would we work together? That's a fascinating thing to think of, because if I don't team up with Kev, we don't get to this point. Here we are 1,339 episodes in, talking about obsession, and we're still together, and we're doing all this amazing stuff all over the world, 16-person team, all this stuff. Would that be possible if Kevin was like, you know what, being obsessed isn't good. I'm not obsessed. Like, you know what, I'm just not going to bring my podcast equipment. We may have never gotten here. And so my through line in this episode, my point of this episode is, everyone thinks obsession is a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. If you let it run you, if you let it hurt your friends and family, I think obsession is a word that probably is negative in most people's consciousness. Obsession for me is where greatness lives. And if you find what you are obsessed with and you design a life around it, that's going to be the most magnificent life ever.
I was talking to somebody recently, and I don't say this to brag. I think I've lost sight of, I've lost sight of what some things might look like or sound like to somebody who isn't doing what we do at times. Just the law of familiarity has crept in. But I was talking to somebody and I said, yeah, I did, I don't know, probably 700 podcasts last year or something. I don't know, something like that. Right? We did 365. I did 52 with Podcast Growth U. It's at 420. And then I was probably on 300 at least. Yeah, so 720, 750, something like that. And somebody's like, what? You did 750 podcast episodes? And I was like, well, you need to understand, like, I love doing it. I'm obsessed with podcasting. It's not like I have to be pushed to do it. You know, I think there's a difference between, if you think of it, this is always what I liken it to. I couldn't do a painting every single day for 730 days. I don't like painting. I hate it. I'm not good at it either. I suck. It would be bad. It wouldn't be good, or whatever it is, whatever that is. I couldn't build a website I couldn't build 730 websites over the next year. Like, no, that's not going to happen for me. But I'm not obsessed with those things.
Yeah.
I bet you I could probably write a song every day for, I don't know. No, that's probably not. No way. That's a lot of songs. I don't know if anybody can do that. But like, I was listening to The Art of Impossible. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't listened to The Art of Impossible, it's heavy. It's a very, very heavy book. But when he's talking about purpose and when he's talking about drive and internal and external motivation, I think that's a really good listen for you if you're watching or listening to us. Now, again, it's a very heavy book about how to do the impossible and change the world, but there's a lot of things in there that are very, very applicable to anybody trying to accomplish more. And he was talking about drive and how when you're obsessed with something, drive is just part of it. It's like, it's not, you want to do it. You want to do it. You want to do more. You want to be more curious. You want to be more focused on it. You want to be more absorbed with it. And I think that really is we're just not playing the same game. That's all it is. Think of it this way. If you're obsessed with having children and you're obsessed with your children, you're playing a different game than I am. Mm-hmm. It's different. And that's good. That's not a bad thing. But I think that's one of the reasons why people don't understand obsession, because to your point, a lot of us just make it a negative thing. Mm-hmm. They make it a negative thing as if you don't have control over it, but maybe you don't have control over it, but you do have control in it. And I really think, I don't know, that's one of the best things ever, is finding that thing that you want to do forever. So you have to figure out a way to make it sustainable versus doing the thing that you want to be done with eventually. So you're just counting down the days until it's done. Those are just two different lives. And you and I we've had those conversations behind the scenes of, we know a lot of entrepreneurs and we know a lot of business owners and we know a lot of people who are dream chasers. And one of the conversations we have, not from a place of judgment, just from a place of exploration and understanding, is it's going to be very hard for a lot of these people to win at what they're doing because they're not obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. They're doing it because it helps them make money. And again, money is necessary. I completely understand. But eventually you're going to make a certain amount of money and you're not going to want to do it anymore. It's like, well, I have enough money now. That's not obsession. That's not an obsession. That is a means to an end, ultimately. Really, that's what it is. And I think purpose and passion, that goes into it. But yeah, it's a very interesting thought that a lot of us connect obsession to negativity. When I think obsession there's a lot of opportunity in obsession.
What's going on, guys? My name is Austin, and I've been working with Kevin for a few months now. If there's one thing that I find super valuable, is his expertise on how to position the podcast to the right audience and fit the content into the overall business plan. And frankly, when we work together, he challenges me a lot. There were some tough conversations that he initiated with me so that I can really grow in the business. Besides the coaching part, the editing team does amazing work with editing and show notes and staying on top of all communications. Overall, my experience working with Kevin has really been top-notch.
Kev, I think that I tend to be on the higher end of what people would consider. I think the positive word would be very passionate. The negative word would be obsessed. Obsessive. I've been called obsessive. I've never felt like it's been a bad thing. Now, if you channel it, this is what I used to say. I dial everything up to 11. It tends to be my personality. So I got to be real careful with what I choose. I do think that I am obsessive I think it's a spectrum. It's 0 to 10, right? Where do you fall on the statistical obsessive, thing? I don't think you're super obsessive. I think you're obsessed with podcasting. And I would argue I'm probably more obsessive than you.
I would say so. I wouldn't argue. I would agree with that.
Okay. So for someone who is not on the far end of the bell curve of obsessive nature, and I do want to share too that if you aren't obsessed with what you do for your career, you're in some trouble. And what I mean by that is, I have this one person I was thinking of. We dated for a short time in college. Wonderful human being. And she was obsessed with plants. Loved gardening. She is now someone who does landscape design and gardening for gardeners. And she also works at, I don't even know the name, but like picture downtown Boston, open atrium and plants, and she's the one who tells people what plants do what. She knew everything about plants. She knew everything. I don't know anything about plants. Seriously, I think I know they need water and sunlight. That's like as much as I know. And in our home, we have, I think 97 plants, something like that. Emilia, not me. I haven't bought a single one. We joke, when she was away, I had to water the plants. I watered the fake ones. It's funny. That's funny. But anyway, so a stereotypical dude moment. But I turn on the light switch. We have a special light for our plants because they don't get enough sunlight. So it's like a UV light or something. I don't know. But the point is that this person built their career around their obsession. And she's always going to be better at it than someone who's not obsessed. Like, can you imagine me at like a plant store? No. It would be like, I would be useless. I'd be like, yeah, sure. Looks good. Good luck. I don't have any information. Emilia has books on it and all kinds of stuff. And then this person that I was talking about, named Anna, she built her whole career around her obsession. And I can promise you this. What's ironic is, and I remember when she first started her business, I remember it was harder for her because entrepreneurship is just kind of terrible in the beginning. No one really knows you. You don't have a brand. They're taking a chance on you. I always joke about Coca-Cola versus Sam's Cola. You're always going to choose a Coca-Cola, not because you love Coca-Cola, but because you don't know who Sam is. And it's everyone's certainty driven. So you're going to buy an iPhone or an Android. You're not going to buy Jeff's phone number 3. Phone. Yeah, Jeff phone. You shouldn't, by the way. That's a waste of money, most likely. But anyways, so early entrepreneurship is brutal, but later on, I knew she'd win because she's obsessed. Therefore, she's passionate. Therefore, she's curious. Therefore, she's going to get better. Therefore, she's never going to stop because it's what she's drawn to. Last piece of this, Kev. One of the biggest objections people have is about turning their obsession into their career, I think, is, well, I don't want it to feel like work. Honestly, I don't care. Wouldn't it be better to have something that you were obsessed with kind of feel like work than have a career you don't love? And so I'm going to flip it to you now because I am obsessive. I always have been. I always will be to some extent. And if you don't like that, I apologize. But it also has provided a lot of value to a lot of people when it comes to peak performance and stuff like that. Kev, as someone who isn't super obsessive, what's it like to build a career on something you're obsessed with?
I wouldn't say that I'm not super obsessive. I think you're hyper obsessive. Because you got to think, I don't know. I am pretty obsessed. Like, remember how every time you come to the studio, I'd be like rearranging stuff. I am
but that's also podcasting. I don't think you're obsessive with other stuff. I mean, maybe with bodybuilding, I would say, yeah.
Like PT. It's almost like I just pick something and then I obsess over it. And then when I get to a certain level, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm good now.
Yeah. UFC, you're pretty obsessed with.
I'm obsessed with that.
That's a fair assessment.
I told you today, I told Alan, I was like, dude, I'm back. Like, I'm back in the gym. I'm strong. My body feels good. And he's like, PT's really, really helping. And I said, yeah, it's been huge. Do you know why I went to PT? Because I obsessed over it for so long. I bought a book that was like $75 from somebody I follow on Instagram it was supposed to help. And I did the exercise and it wasn't really working. So it was like, this problem isn't going to fix itself.
So you are obsessive then?
I think so.
I just don't think so because, more than normal.
I would say probably more than average. More than average.
But I would argue that your level of fulfillment is directly correlated to the amount that you've designed your life around your obsessions, aka your passions.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me on a podcast the other day, they said, like, what? And I've really just tried to be very honest lately when it comes to just like, I don't want to say the stuff that should be on in fortune cookies. Like, I just want to tell you how it is. And they said, what gets you out of bed in the morning? And I was like, honestly, yeah, it's the mission. The mission gets me out of bed. But for me, it's like, I just want to be a better person. That's what gets me out of bed. It's like, let me get up and move the needle on being a better person. And to your point about things feeling like a job, it's a passion. It's a purpose. I love it. But there's days where it's like, oh man, I don't have to batch my WhatsApp today. Because there's way more that goes into the obsession than just the obsession.
Yep.
Unless you are so blessed, and maybe this is what it gets to eventually for people. I don't know. Unless you're so blessed that you can walk into your studio and you have your easel set up and your classic music is playing, you got all your paint set up and you can just go. And then when you're done, you can say, yeah, that's good. And then you just leave.
And then someone else sells it for you.
Somebody else sells it, and they do your social media, and they put your money in the bank, whatever.
And they create your Etsy account.
Yeah, maybe. And then maybe you're in a case where you just get to do what you love. I don't know. But you are way more likely to be successful if you're obsessed. Because you're obsessed with finding a way to stay in the pool, not figuring out how to get out. That's it. There's a big difference between trying to figure out how to survive where you don't feel like you belong and then thrive where you know you belong. Those are just two different lives. And to your point about fulfillment, I mean, I do expect us to be more fulfilled than the average person, honestly, than most people, because we are surrounded by our obsessions. And I think that's a really good way to put it. So yeah, for me, I don't know. I think I'm more obsessive than most people, but I can tell you that it's a very interesting thing knowing exactly what tomorrow looks like. And also knowing I can control it in a way. It's very interesting. There's just a lot of certainty in the uncertainty of this whole thing. That's what I would say.
We should do an episode on that at some point.
I actually already have it coming, believe it or not.
Oh, nice. So last piece for this. I had a client once who was into music, does music, loves music. He hosts these jam sessions every week with artists and musicians that just want to jam sessions. And I said, what's your favorite part about, so there was 3 different facets of his business. One of them was music. And he hired me to help him synergize his businesses and become more profitable. That was the statement. I have a statement for everyone who hires me. And I said, what's your favorite part about music? Like, what's your favorite gig, your favorite type of gig? And he's like, oh, weddings, man. Weddings are a blast. You get paid way more money. They're super fun. You know, it's probably 5 or 6 hours and you get paid way more, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. And this is a principle. This is not a him thing. This is a thing. I said, what's the thing you hate that you got to do to go get more wedding gigs? And he was like, oh, these goddamn bar gigs, man. They are brutal. People are laughing at you. They don't take you seriously. You're doing them for free. The bar barely pays you anything. You get tipped out kinda sometimes. And it's loud and it's not the scene I want to be in. I said, that is the way it works. I'm telling you, what we have had to do in order to create a podcast where we get to do this for a living has been way more challenging than the doing it itself. Oprah Winfrey says this, do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. And guess who did 20 years? I don't know if it's 10 years or 20 years, but I remember Kevin and I, we were in a stadium at Lowell, UMass Lowell in Lowell, Mass. And she said, I did the Oprah show and I never missed once. Not one time, not one sick day, not one can't make it, not once. And I turned to Kevin. I don't know if you remember this. I was taking notes. It was interesting. I was like one of the only people taking notes. Now I kind of understand the industry. It's interesting. But anyways, I turned to my right and I say, Kev, that's why she's Oprah Winfrey. The compound effect of 20 years, and I don't think she missed a single day. Her words, not mine. Do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. That is why. Guess who gets to do whatever she wants now? Oprah Winfrey. And that's a really, really important piece of this, is the thing that you're obsessed with, like doing weddings in my client's case. What's the thing that you really don't want to do that is required in order for you to do that? Last thing, this is my example. I'm obsessed with business consulting and peak performance coaching. Genuinely obsessed with it. Love it. That's why my calls go over. I'm obsessed. When I write books, I'm not obsessed with writing. I kind of don't like writing. I'm decent at it, but it takes me a long time, and it's taken me years to get decent at it, and I don't really like it that much. But I do know that if I have a book that is truly profound and innovative, I know people will come to me for coaching and consulting. The thing that I don't want to do is what I have to do to enable me to do more of what I love. And that doesn't mean I love every day, but it's something that I am obsessed with and something that I love more. And so for you, listener out there, what are you obsessed with? And what are the things you've not been willing to do to design your life around it? And if you can answer those questions and get yourself to do those things, be a game changer.
I was researching to see if Oprah ever missed an episode. I couldn't find it. The episode I was talking about with the England trip was episode number 13.
13.
13. I didn't realize it was that.
Plus or minus 6 episodes is no big deal.
In the beginning,
50% error.
I believe it was called Taking Ownership. I think it was Taking Ownership or Owning Your Mistakes or something, live from England. I don't remember what the lesson was, but I remember, again, this is how I remember. I remember the audio quality in that episode was off. And I remember listening back saying, like, I should have made that better. It wasn't very good.
You were obsessed with audio quality.
I was, yeah. I was.
And our audio quality is better than most shows. It's hard to listen to some shows, quite frankly. But it's because of Kevin's obsession, not mine. You were the one who were obsessed with audio quality more than me.
Definitely. I wanted it to sound like Joe Rogan's. I was like, if Joe Rogan get audio quality,
we're still
like
going to get those ATRs, man?
Eventually.
Okay.
No, they're not ATRs. Those are Shure. SMB, I think SMB 7 or something. Maybe. Don't worry about it. We don't need it.
I want a hanging one. When do we get the hanging ones?
You could hang these. Yeah, you could hang the same thing. The same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We can hang
fair
these. All
assessment.
right, we're going to get out of here because I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Okay.
With our
obsessions.
technical, our obsessions with microphones. Excuse me. I remember Alan Lazaros said to me, probably 6 years ago, he said, Kev, you got to start tracking your habits. And I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He's like, just pick 5 habits. And I was like, yeah, no, cool. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, you should pick 1 under health, you should pick 1 under wealth, and you should pick 1 under love. And I was like, cool, man. I still don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now we have an app where you can literally go into this app and it'll help you track your habits. And it's the best. It's the best. And I'm fully caught up. I could not talk about it before because I was like 2 months behind because I was overwhelmed. It is weird to me that we have an app. I never, ever, ever expected that. But if you haven't dipped your toe into habit tracking and you want to, you're very familiar most likely with how to use your cell phone, probably far more familiar than using spreadsheets or anything. Please reach out. Download Optimal. It's free. Track your habits and accomplish all of your goals.
The link will be in the show notes. It'll take you to our website. On our website, there'll be a landing page that takes you through all about Optimal. Habit tracking made simple. Habit tracking made simple.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you have any questions or need support, just email us. We have Christina. She's the tech support for Optimal. She's the director of the department. Reach out. We will personally make sure that you are set up properly. Also, if you are not yet in our private Facebook group and you want to be around a community of other people that are designing their life around their obsessions into personal development, into growth, into self-improvement, holistic, health, wealth, and love, that is the place for you.
Tomorrow, Oh, this is going to be a fun one. I'm excited for this one. Tomorrow for episode number 1340, the 2 most important things for a healthy relationship. You and I did this episode many moons ago. We were both single and lonely and sad. And for some reason, that episode never saw the light of day. I think we deleted it. So let's hope this one goes better than that one. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Find out what you're obsessed with. Next Level Nation.